Ty. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
I like your green wall. You guys both have really cool backgrounds for you.
My wife surprised me. I went out of town last summer and I got back and she had painted the whole
It was
wall
green.
green. Yeah,
Aw,
Oh
that's
which
no.
was awesome. I was like, "Hey, this is cool. I'm not picky."
You're like, I didn't have to do it.
No work for me, right?
For real though.
I'm super glad you weren't upset about it.
She was nervous because I'm not picky, but there's I've got very clear boundaries on like I definitely don't want this. And so when I got home, she was like, okay, I have something to show you, but please don't be mad. And immediately I was like bristling. I was like, what on earth?
What
And then she
happened?
showed the room and I was like,
You're like, oh,
this
it's
is
a green wall.
amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm all for it. It's cool. It was just
Even if you
boring old
didn't like the
white.
color, it could have been so much worse after that, right?
It absolutely could have been. Yeah. I mean, she painted a mural, like a city skyline on our kids' in one of our kids' rooms for like
Uh-huh.
superhero theme. So I was like, it's probably gonna be fine if it's something crazy. Like I trust her pretty much wholeheartedly with her artistic talent.
Nice. Hi, Dietrich. Glad you're here.
Hey, Dietrich.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was funny.
Sorry. I like coughed and all this cat hair came off of me. That is so weird.
Better than coming out of you.
Right.
That is true. That is, well, and now I'm picturing like a cartoon,
Yes.
Yeah.
cartoon cat after it eats a bird and it coughs up the
Mhm.
feathers.
Yes. Oh man, classic.
But I have this, with a background, I don't think it'll show you. I have this giant cat over here. Nope, it's just going to be stars. That's too bad. She's enormous and long-haired, and anytime I work from home now, and she's recently discovered that she can sit on my lap while I work. So anytime I'm at my desk, she is all over me
Of course.
constantly. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We recently got a cat, and I'm not a pet person, which we have a dog. Maybe I'm not a dog person, but we got a cat, and I love this cat so much, and I did not think that I would like cats. But he'll like crawl up in my lap, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, buddy," and then he's just kind of like, gives you the finger and walks off. He's like, "All right, cool. This is great."
That's how dads work. I feel like that's like a real dad thing, though. Like every dad I've ever known has been like, I don't want a cat. I can't stand cats. Don't give me cat. And then
I
they're
don't
like,
want pets. No pets.
the cat loves the dad,
Yeah,
and the dad like
yeah,
secretly loves the cat and won't admit it.
That is
yeah.
true in our family also. Yeah.
It rings
My
true. I mean,
husband is my husband
is
is
your husband?
very anti-pet,
Oh yeah.
and the cats will like climb up and snuggle him, and the
Mhm.
dogs always want the attention, and he's like so sweet to them, and he's like, but I hate animals. Whatever.
Sure you do.
Like, you love the cat, please.
Yeah, admit it. It's
Fine.
hard.
Lauren, do you have any pets?
Not at the moment. I've had many pets over the course. Well, I've had a couple of cats over the course of my time, but I was a zookeeper for many years. So I
hmm
took care of animals for my job for a long time. And then I'm like, that's good. I'm good. I don't need to
That
do it.
is extremely cool that you were a zookeeper.
It was very fun, and it was always something different and exciting, but it's a very very labor intensive job, and
hmm
it kind of breaks your body pretty quickly, and it's a very
Yeah, that makes
mentally
sense.
taxing job too. So
Right. I wanted to be a zookeeper so bad when I was like, I literally had like a zoology notebook
Aw.
where I was
Did you
like
have all the
supposed
That's
to write
cute.
down like all the things about animals, and then I'm pretty sure I never actually wrote anything down.
Sorry.
That's better than collecting a bunch of stuffed animals like my 5-year-old. He has literally like 100. And I told him the other day, I was like, we're gonna have to get rid of some of your stuffed animals, and he's just gaga for animals, which is so cool. In fact, I told him about you, Lauren. I have a
Aw.
friend that was a zookeeper and blah blah blah. Well, he had the hardest time figuring out which animals he didn't want anymore. And I mean, I was like, I'm really sorry, but you literally can't lay in your bed because you have so many. So he got rid of 10.
Hey, that's pretty good.
I'd
That's
chalk it up as a
something.
win.
That's
Yeah,
10%, man.
I know. I was like, you still can't really lay on your bed, but we'll get there.
One day at a time.
My kids are teenagers now, but they were like that when they were little, and we had to get a pet net to hang above the bed.
Yes, yes.
And when they wouldn't fit in the pet net anymore, that was when it was although one of them still has a pet net. full of pets.
Good. Yeah, this
Pretty
pet net
sure
is like,
they haven't been touched in like at least 5 years, but they will not get rid of them.
Yeah, don't try to ask them to get rid of any of them.
no way.
I'm not about to rob them of their childhood too early if I can help it.
I still have my teddy bear from my childhood in my closet over there. His name was Flicka, and he's awesome. He's like big, you know. My brother has
My daughter
silver
has
bullets.
my first teddy bear. He's my first memory. He's like 3 feet tall,
That's
which
sweet.
at the time was enormous.
Yeah.
I remember like
I mean, it's
pulling him
still
out of the
enormous.
box, and he was as big as I was,
Yeah,
and she has him now.
That's really cute. Our
Fun
kids
fact:
all
I
have, like,
also
stuffed
married
animals.
that teddy bear when I was 8.
Well, that is a
As you
long-lasting
do.
relationship.
That's
More
right.
than most real marriages.
And technically, we never got divorced, so I don't know if we're still together or.
No, how does that work? Did you your current
My
husband?
husband and I have been married almost 20 years, so.
Oh,
Eh.
that's fantastic. My wife and I have been together for 23 years and married 18 in July.
No, good job, guys.
You know, that's a long time.
It is.
I mean, it's fantastic. But we were looking back at like, man, when we first started dating, like there weren't really cell phones. Internet was still kind of iffy, you know, like it was a different world.
Right? We got together when we were 18, and so a couple years ago we celebrated like our dating anniversary of, well, we'd been together for 20 years, but we were like, we've been together longer now than we were alive apart, and that's a
Yes.
wild milestone.
That is nuts to think that. Yeah.
Oh, well, good job, guys.
So anxious.
Anyway, we should actually probably talk books at some point tonight, right?
We could.
So I'll do my little spiel for anybody who's watching. We are here tonight because we love our indie authors, and we want to help them get more publicity. We want to help them get more readers, sell more books, do all the wonderful things for our authors. But that is only effective if people watch the live. So, and now you can't see her because of the background, but my cat is right.
Oh, there.
Yeah, trying to get right up in the middle of everything. So some ways that we can help make sure that people see, of course, share with anybody you think might be interested. Tons and tons of likes, as many likes as you can do. You can sit there with your finger on the screen and tap all night if you want to, but more likes and more shares will cause the algorithm to show our live to more people. Gifts also help. We love gifts. They give us, honestly, not very much money. I mean, I think I average about 7 cents a live.
Hey, good for
but
you.
we get a tiny little bit of money from gifts. And the more gifts you give to the authors or myself, the more people will see the live also. So make sure you share, make sure you like. Those things are free. If you want to spend a little money on gifts, we're more than happy to have them. But we also love the free things. Oh, Fluffer's making an appearance. Her name is Fluffer Nutter.
He was like a negative space there for a minute. It was like a space.
I know,
cat.
she like
It was awesome.
disappears. It's really weird. All right. So I am here tonight with 2 wonderful sci-fi authors. Lauren Cipollo, did I say your last name right?
You got it.
Okay. And Ty Carlson, both of whom who have written some amazing books. I'm getting really distracted by this cat. I apologize.
It's what pets do.
It's a fluffy thing.
Right. Lauren, since you're on top, I will let you introduce yourself first.
Sure. Yeah, so I have a trilogy of sci-fi novels coming out in practically a month, April 9th, so that's super exciting. Written by myself and my writing partner. I've written, I'm a screenwriter and an author, former zookeeper, as I mentioned before. And if you want a little information about Parallax, really quickly, we're 300 years in the future. Humanity has kind of explored out to the nearest star systems, and corporations have taken over the role of government. So they have decided that it is it takes a long time and it's very expensive to terraform planets. So they instead gene splice their citizens to match the environment. And we have 3 main characters who are kind of slowly getting involved in a corporate conspiracy, and it's going to have a lot of ramifications as we go through. So it's a little Game of Thrones-y, where we have 3 different characters kind of all separately becoming involved, and their stories become intertwined as you read.
Oh, that sounds fascinating. And also, the cool premise, but also sounds like some things could go horribly wrong with that.
Yes, they might.
I got to tell you, I don't think I'd be a big fan of corporations running the government.
I mean, if you like,
It's a
it's
little bit of
funny.
a conflict of interest.
Yeah, and it's so funny though, because we'll start explaining it to people. We'll be like, yeah, like it's kind of like if Amazon like run everything, and then everybody's oh, not really all that true. So it's one of those
Yeah.
let's a little cautionary tale of what the future could possibly
Right.
be.
At least now they still have to like go through the guise of lobbying and stuff.
Sure.
So
there's that.
For now.
For now.
And it's a very good
We're
book.
gonna get real dystopian real fast.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of it, almost, I guess.
All right, Ty, you're up.
I love it.
Thank you, Ty.
Okay, so my name's Ty Carlson. I also write sci-fi, and my first series has 4 books in it. It's called the DADIRRI Saga. I have written that for the past couple of years, and it follows multiple characters in the same universe but at different times, and kind of surrounds this one event called the Neo-Pagan Wars, which isn't written yet, but that's book 5, 6, and 7. So the other series that I'm starting to write is called Dominus Trilogy, and I just turned in the 5th book to my editor, and it is also a corporation that has taken the place of government, because that seems like what's happening next, and is my first foray into like space opera, and it's very fun to write, but there's a lot of characters. You have to be like super detailed, and I'm not a details person. I'm like, man, wouldn't it be cool if there was a book like this? I'm gonna write it. Oh, I've got to write what color hair she has, and that it's sunny, and like the sidewalk is scratchy. Like, oh, how annoying. So it's but it's fun. I love writing, and my books are usually like a narrative of parts of my life just placed in a sci-fi universe, which is cool.
And so both your series that you have, they're both continuing, right? It's not like one's done and now you're doing another.
Right. Yes, that's correct. Yeah, my editor said, I'm sad that I don't get to read the DADIRRI Saga, but I understand that you needed a break from it. And I was like, I didn't really need a break from it. I just had this idea that would not get out of my head. So I had to write it.
It's usually how it goes.
I know.
That's fair.
It's the struggle.
Hello, Patrick.
Hey, Patrick.
Oh, and Robert. Hello, Robert.
And Robert. Space Cat's back.
Yes, I love it.
I know, like her ear up here. Oh, and my hand disappeared too.
Yeah, you've got.
If I touch her, she reappears.
Phasing in and out of reality thing happening out of it. And AJ, I don't know if we told you. It's so funny. Ty and I had no idea that we had both asked to be on your live. We've known each other like since before we even started TikTok, and so it was just so hysterical. We were both like, "Yeah, we're gonna be on this," and then we were like, "Are we gonna be on this?" We did not plan this like at all.
That's
we were
awesome.
just so excited that we were like, "Oh, we get to talk to
I
each
was
other."
like, wait, we're like on the same.
I know, it's like the Spider-Man meme where we were just like, "What?"
Yes. So great.
Nice.
So,
I love that. Hopefully that means you guys will have more to talk about with each other too, right?
oh yeah. We
already
done
know each
lives
other
together before. It's great. We've both read each other's books. It's great.
That's
Fun.
awesome.
Yeah, we've been following. I mean, well, pre-publication for both of us, we were friends back in the query trenches. That was a wild time. That's back when Twitter was called Twitter.
Yeah.
Not so long ago, but like pre-Elon, and that was a fun time.
Yeah, I love that it just worked out that way.
Yeah,
it was
it's just
fantastic.
serendipity. You gotta love it.
So did you guys meet through like author circles or something else entirely?
Yeah, I guess it was, the writing community, whatever that, all the stuff that they do similar, to Book Talk here. They have writing community over there, and yeah, we just kind of enjoyed each other's tweets, I suppose, and started talking about stuff. And I won one of Ty's books in a giveaway.
Oh, that's right.
And so that's how I got his first book, and and we just
Well,
been talking.
what's funny is she won a book in my giveaway, and I won a drawing in her giveaway, and she was like, "This is totally random, but you're never gonna believe it. You won my drawing," and I was like, "Yeah, it's hilarious."
So we're like fated to like hang out on the internet. I don't know.
Right? This wonderful coincidental something out there in the universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
It's always
it's
pulling
great.
us back together, which is fine because she's super cool and she likes sci-fi. So
I mean, Ty's fine, but no, he's like one of the nicest people in the universe. Like, honestly, everybody should follow him, and he's a wonderful, wonderful person.
stop
I
it.
don't know if
Oh,
you have enough hair to flip back.
I literally have zero hair. So I mean, I've got like I usually shave my head like six, and I didn't today, and I noticed it, and I was like, oh, my hair's so long and gross, and my wife was like, you're ridiculous. Stop. I can't help it.
That's too funny. Okay, I'm trying to get to back to my list of questions.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, we're probably going to sidetrack you quite a bit.
I'm totally fine with that because it means we'll go the whole hour.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, we're here. We're here. We're in it to win it.
Right. Every once in a while, like people are really nervous and it's like you can tell they feel a little awkward. And
Aw.
I don't think you guys are going to have that problem because you're already comfortable with each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. You're going to have to rein us in. I think that's what's going to happen.
Right.
I'll try. Okay, so how did you guys come up with the idea for your books? And I mean, you can answer in either order, just whoever knows what they want to say first, hop on in there.
I'll go first. I had the idea for a book based off of a Facebook post from maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, for my first book, and it was, if you could sit on a bench with someone living or dead, who would it be? And I asked my wife that one night, and she said, "Oh, I would say my dad." And her dad passed away whenever she was real little, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." And so I started. That was kind of the germ of the idea, and I started thinking like, what would that look like? How would you make that possible if they're living or dead? Like there would have to be some kind of recording, or now it's kind of turned into AI of getting their person into some kind of computer system. And so that's where the idea for the bench came from. And the bench is my first book in the DADIRRI saga. The favorite, which is the second book, is more of a narrative on just me being a dad and what it's like being a parent and all of the self-doubt you have. There's a lot of inner monologue. Third book was a dream, and fourth book was just an amalgamation of everything that I was going through at a certain time in my life. So it's kind of wild.
Okay, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm going to try and keep this brief because the origin of origin is a long and weird story. It started as a tabletop role playing game. My writing partner and I, he had the kernel of the idea for this universe a long time ago, and he'd written a pilot script for it, and then he kind of didn't do anything with it. And then we started writing together. We started trying to develop this tabletop RPG version of the Parallax universe. And, so we're developing all the mechanics and stuff. And I created a couple characters just to like test out the system. And I created this character, and his name was Hemlock Shaw. And I get like super into writing the background stories for my characters. And I kind of got into that. And then I started thinking about like, what would this guy do? Like, what was he doing before we started playing this game? And I just started like writing. And then I like didn't realize that I had written like a novella about this guy. And I went to, and I'm like, Matt, I don't know. I wrote this. I don't know what to do. Like, what can I do? And, and he looked at it and he's like, oh, I think we could like work this out and brainstorm this out and make this into a whole story. And so we did, and we like outlined it out, and I started writing, and he was like, you know what? I think I have an idea too. And he started writing a book, so we were parallel writing these books together. And, and after about, I don't know, 6 months, 9 months, we both had these books that we wrote in this universe. And we're like, what do we do with this? And we thought about it, and we're like, well, they take place kind of around the same time in the same universe. They're not about the same characters though. Like, which would be book one, which would be book two. And we did like the worst. I would not recommend anybody write a trilogy this way. But we're like, we think we can make this work. So we kind of like split them apart and like folded them together like a deck of cards. And we're like, we're going to put these two books together and like connect these stories together and make this a whole narrative. And it did take a lot of like reworking and stuff, but we really love the story that we came up with because of it. So it kind of started as, a TV pilot like a long time ago, and then it was an RPG, and now it's the series that we've created. And so a lot of going around the world to go down
Just
the
kind of smooshed it all together and made it work.
Yeah, it was fun. It was like a weird, challenging puzzle to make it all connect together, but you kind of end up working backwards, and it was fun to connect all the dots.
Right. So, would each of you tell us just a little bit more about the universe that your series takes place in?
Okay, me? Sure. So like I said, there's these kind of 12 variants of humanity, and like half of them are genetically spliced, and then some of them are cybernetically enhanced. So, I don't want to bore everybody going through all of them, but most of the genetically spliced variants are usually animal DNA. So we have like a chameleon splice that's a lizard splice. We have the eutherians, which are usually like a mammal. Scythe, which are winged animals, so like it could be a bug or a bat or a bird. And kind of the idea behind all of the splices when they were created was these corporations were trying to colonize these planets, and they all had different environments, and they're like, well, we have this planet that we want to mine for whatever this mineral is. We're going to splice a bunch of people, with meerkats and armadillos and stuff, and animals that are good at digging, so we don't have to like get all this equipment over there. We'll just make our citizens do it. So they all kind of started out as kind of a working split, working genetic manipulation. And as time went forward, a lot of people still get them, for jobs, but mostly now, you've kind of just generations later, you just kind of are born that way because the genes do carry through breeding, as one would say. So there's tons of people who have genetic splices, and then there are people who have the cybernetic enhancements as well. And so most people actually don't mind the corporation rule. They take care of everything for you. Like they're your job, they're your healthcare. You don't really have to buy anything. You just owe debt to your corporation, and as long as your reputation stays high enough and you are you keep working and the corporation thinks you're worth having around, that's usually fine. But it's not like, people can just go, I have enough money, I'm going to buy something, and I'm not going to owe anybody anything. It's really, you're really kind of beholden to your corporation. They kind of have you, and if you try to exist without those bounds, it's very difficult for people.
So it's sort of like an indentured servitude kind of situation?
Yeah, pretty much. And it's just kind of one of those things that's been going on for so long that most people think it's fine. They're like, I don't know, I go to my job, I come home, I have healthcare, I eat, it's okay.
They're kind of numb to it. It just seems normal.
Yeah. And then there are some people who are like, this is wrong, and there's a whole, black market. There's an off-grid population that try to exist outside of that. But and then of course our main characters have different emotions about how things work, and they kind of have to come to grips with some of it as they learn more things as they go through. Right.
I'm interested, like, what are some of the other sort of atmospheres, that they need specific splices for?
Oh, sure. One of our main characters is a splice called a Tamari. So she comes from a very cold planet. So she's tall. She's like immune to cold temperatures practically. So anytime she's on a planet that's warmer than freezing, she's just like, it's so hot. Like I can't do anything.
And then she gets naked.
Yeah, she pretty much doesn't wear clothes, or very little clothing throughout the entire book. So that's kind of fun. We have water planets. So there's a Mai splice, which is basically fish, any kind of, sharks, fish, all those kinds of things. And sometimes like on planets that there are a couple planets that have been terraformed. And so you'll have populations that live on the land, and then you'll have the Mai and the other populations that live under the oceans too. They take care of they'll colonize any parts of the planets that they can. But yeah, so like desert planets, there's a cool bioluminescent planet that the Cygnin splice came from. And there's a planet called Wayfair that we don't really get into yet. That is they brought a bunch of stuff there from Earth, and it everything evolves really quickly. So they have all these weird plants and animals that are just way out of control because everything just seems to evolve really quickly there. So we are mostly on a colonized planet a bubble colony, and a space station. But there's a lot in that universe that we kind of
It
mentioned.
sounds like there would be, yeah. Okay, one more follow-up question, and then I'm going to let Ty talk. um, how did you come up with the names for the types of splices?
That's a great question, and some of them kind of come from just what they like the chameleon splice. It's just they're a type of lizard, and this splice is able to camouflage and become invisible. They were created to fight these creatures called threshers on Wayfair. The Eutherian splice. Eutherian is mammals, basically. Mai is a Oh, Matt, if you are in the chat, remind me what language Mai comes from, but it means water. And Signin comes from is from the planet Cygni, so they kind of came from there. So most of them, are usually pretty closely related to the variant. I'm trying to think of the other ones that we could.
Arabic. There
Arabic.
it is.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, Matt says Arabic.
Yeah, and then some of the other splices, like we have AI, they're considered a variant of humanity. We have an integrated, which is a Terran that has a AI living in their brain. They're kind of together. Yeah, and we have we call these guys a variant. They're non-sentient robots called tenders. But again, if you read more, you'll understand why we kind of include them.
They're amazing.
I love how you react to everything.
I'm sorry.
It's so great. I love it. So
it does add a layer of interest that you wouldn't otherwise have.
I know, right?
I mean, like, to your credit, you have written them in such a way that as I'm reading them, you can't help. I'm not going to spoil anything. You can't help but be like, I totally understand the emotions that these people are feeling about these other beings and how those beings receive those and perceive them. And it's just like, I mean, it's like sad and it's confusing and it's unfair and it's also totally believable. And it's just like, oh, you did so good.
Thank you.
So awesome.
That makes me feel really good that you're saying that, because all that was very intentional, because, like, we all would love to believe that, the Star Trek, everybody, no one fights anymore is like a thing that could happen. And we're like, that would never happen. So even within splices, people have weird feelings about things, and, people feel a certain way about robots and about AI. And, we really did try to bring emotion and all of those kinds of feelings into it and make it feel, we really wanted to make it feel like a world that has been lived in for the past 300 years. Like, we just didn't make up something new. This is a possible future.
You did great.
Thank you.
And of course, I've read a little bit of each of your books, but I never have time to read the whole thing because I'm talking to so many authors. I can't read everybody's books, right?
Struggles are real.
But just your description makes me think I need to give your book to my husband to read. I think he would really like it.
It's very good, and it's an easy read too. That's not a knock on it. It's very accessible. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
I just can't say enough good things. I read it on a plane, and it was like, this is great. Just put my earbuds in, and I just read on my little phone.
Yeah, we wanted to write, we love sci-fi, but I'm not I'm not going to explain. I don't know how space engines work, so we didn't really go into it trying to write that kind of science fiction book. We want fair. Really character-based stuff, so it's not scary science fiction.
It is it's great. Can't say enough good things about it.
Thanks, Ty.
Okay, Ty, tell us a little bit more about the universe that you've created, or universes, if you'd like to talk about both series.
Yeah, so the DADIRRI universe is gonna feel really familiar. What I wanted is for you to feel like this is like the bench. Evan and Meredith are your neighbors. Like they're people that you grew up with. I mean, they're based kind of on some people that so honestly, I accidentally wrote Evan as me and Meredith as my wife, and my friend was like, hey, you're Evan. And I was like, that's impossible. That can't be true. And then I reread it and thought about it, and I was like, well, dadgummit. Okay, fine. So it's all near future. Well, book 1 and 2 and 4 are near future sci-fi. So it should feel familiar. It's like this day and age with just a little bit better technology. And so I wanted it to feel really um, like you know the people in the book, if not them directly, you know someone that's like them. The favorite is probably is probably my favorite out of the ones that I've written, because it is based on my neighborhood, or it's based in my neighborhood, and so it was really easy to write. And I could walk down the neighborhood and just kind of describe what I'm seeing, and I put that in the book. So I want it to feel like that one's called, I think would be domestic horror, domestic terror. Um, and it's supposed to feel like, oh, this is familiar, I've been here before, or I could recognize this, you know. The Shadow List, which is book 3, is set in like in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, so it's your classic Mad Max sci-fi, and I wanted that to be a huge deviation from books 1 and 2, because it is meant to shock the reader and kind of set them off guard a little bit. And while it is a familiar trope to have this a wasteland environment, the stuff that happens in it is always, and in all of the DADIRRI books, are really emotionally driven. I don't want, my goal was that someone would read this and think either I'm really angry that it happened this way, or I'm really sad that it happened this way, or I'm really happy that it happened this way. I didn't want them to finish it and be like, meh. And of course, that's going to happen, right? Everyone has their opinion. But when my wife finished book 1 and she wouldn't talk to me for 2 hours because she was crying and she was like, leave me alone, I don't want to look at you, I was like, okay, mission accomplished. Like, this is fantastic, you know? Um, I was really, really proud of that. And book 2, I have a really critical friend, in a good way, who read it, and he said, that's my top 5 books of 2023. I loved the way that it was written. I loved rooting for the main character, and it was really fun to write that. So with DADIRRI, it should all feel familiar, but there's always something off in it, and that's purposeful. It just is like, you know, if you've got a line like this and there's a break, it's just a little bit displaced to where it's almost familiar enough that you could see it, but there's something that kind of sets you on edge. For Dominus Trilogy, it's your classic spaceships, aliens, planets kind of thing, with one corporation called Phoenix Corporation that has built a space station as the hub called Iridia 4, and that's where everyone lives. The difficulty is that they have found humans are kind of on top of everything. They're in power, and there are non-humans, they called Nannies, who live and work and kind of corroborate with the humans, but they're always second-class citizens. And the humans don't really care. It's not really that big of a deal. And the Nannies are used to it, but you'll see through the story that there's got to be a reckoning at some point, that it can't always stay like this, because the Nannies are the reason that the humans are able to live like that. And it's not like the humans have elevated themselves to where they are the only ones living on Iridia 4, but we find out later on what happened with Iridia 3 and 2 and 1, and so that's in subsequent books, which is exciting to kind of think about and play around with.
Yeah,
I love dropping
so
seeds.
Yeah.
When it comes to DADIRRI, you describe the books differently, especially, you know, that third book where it feels like the universe is very different, and it makes me wonder how they're all interconnected. Are there shared characters? Is it what's that connection in the series?
It's kind of funny, because whenever I first started writing these and kind of coming up with the ideas, they were standalone. They weren't connected at all. And my publisher said, well, what if you made it a series? And I was like, I mean, I have no plans to make it a series, and unless I just make them spiritual successors of one another, or same universe, different timelines. And they were like, okay, that sounds great. I was like, okay, cool. And so there's yes, Robert, like Babylon. That's exactly right. So you have these stories where there are no characters that are the same. In book 1, the company that created this AI, the bench really, is called Innervate Industries. And in book 3, clever readers will work out the fact that a collapsed building that our main characters hide in is at a place that everyone knows as Inner Dust, and that is Innervate Industries, like Kalima from Planet of the Apes. Caution Live Animals. It was called Kalima. So that's there. So there are some similarities, and there are very, very little connections that are there, because I didn't want it to be overt. And something that I kind of wanted my readers to be able to do is say, you know what, I only have access to buy book 3, or it was given to me, or I wanted it in giveaway or whatever. Okay, great, start there. You can read 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, however you want. The only caveat with that is that book 4 does have a character that has existed before, but it's kind of a big spoiler, so I'm not going to say anything beyond that. But
That's fair.
it ties them together. And when my editor finished book 4, she emailed me and she was like, "I can't believe you did that. The timeline has connected, and I need book 5." And I was like, "Well, it's going to be a couple years." So it was fun. So book 1 is like 80 years after this Neo-Pagan War. Book 2 is 20 years before the Neo-Pagan Wars, and Shadowless book 3 is 200 years after.
Okay. So
No,
they're all in
Janae.
the same universe. They're just
Yep.
like set apart, time-wise.
Yep, that's exactly right.
That makes a
Janae,
lot
I
of
can't,
sense.
and I'm not going to, and you can't make me.
Let's have to wait.
Refusal to say which book the character is from.
It's fun. It's good.
I love that. Oh, they're very upset. I don't know if you're seeing
Yes.
this.
I know. Janae, you read The Bench,
Absolutely
though.
distraught.
She read The Bench, and she told me that she really enjoyed it, and she was angry at the end too. So that's fine.
Oh, Robert, timey-wimey. Yes, fellow Doctor Who fan. Either of you guys, as sci-fi
Yes.
people, like Doctor Who?
Yes.
I haven't seen any Doctor Who.
Oh, you're gonna need to.
No,
It's good.
It's very important that you watch it, as well as
Doctor Who fans tell me.
as well as Firefly.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
Firefly.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Firefly is.
See this. If you like Doctor Who and you like Firefly, we can be friends. That's.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So the hardest question of the evening is comp titles. What are some comparable titles where if somebody read this book, then they'll like your book?
So it's funny, like I think about a lot of things when I try to come up with comps, and not a book, but a video game series. If you like sci-fi, you would probably like Mass Effect. So if you know the Mass Effect series, I like to bring that one up a lot because it's a great space epic, but the story and the characters were like the most important thing, at least was for me. One of my favorite video game series. Was really important. So if you liked that, you'll definitely like Parallax. The other one I like to bring up is The Expanse. Just kind of the tone. I feel like it's very similar to that as well. It just has less humans, but it's similar to that.
Yeah. The Expanse really rings true to me there, which maybe that connection is why I think my husband would like it. We watch The Expanse together. I have to ask a lot of questions though. I'm like, I cannot always follow all the things that are going on. We'll like have to back it up. And
yeah, The Expanse is a rough one. I tried to watch it by myself and I couldn't quite get into it.
Very complex.
Yeah, and then I watched it with Matt and I enjoyed it much more, and it's one of my favorite series. The other one I like to bring up, which it's just because I love it so much, is Battlestar Galactica, the second one. Just because, again, that was very like character focused and stuff. So those are the kind of things that I'll usually bring up.
That makes sense. Okay, Ty, how about you?
Okay, so I always struggle with this one because because I'm weird. That's probably why. I love The Bench. It was easy for me because it was like a really good mix of The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks and Black Mirror, because it's based off of like this love story. This guy wants to he gets the opportunity to talk to his dead wife again, and wow, who wouldn't want to do that? But then as they go through it, it's like, wait a second, you remember something differently than me, and that's weird, but you're a machine, so how could you remember something wrong? With The Favorite, it's kind of got that like domestic feel, like Needful Things by Stephen King, and a little bit of the creepiness in it. The Shadowless is take any post-apocalyptic book and add in the movie Coda, which I don't know if you've seen that on Apple TV. It's amazing, and it's about a deaf family with a hearing daughter. Incredible. So the reason that I compare it to Coda is because one of the characters in Shadowless is a deaf orphan, and I really lean on that because we're a foster family, and so the main character kind of has to take care of her accidentally, and there's a lot of the emotion that goes into that we were kind of going through. And I'm really glad, Janae. Yes, it's Black Mirror, right? It totally fits.
No, it got me when you said The Notebook at first, and I was like, for sci-fi.
Wait a second. Yeah.
But I could see Lauren's face too, and she was like, "That's 100% right."
It really is.
So I was like, "How do you make this work?" But then you added Black Mirror, and I was like, "That sounds like a messed up version of The Notebook."
Yes, that's exactly right. It's like, oh, that's so sweet. Oh, wait, gross. Wait.
Something's wrong.
I want you to get freaked out with the Black Mirror, and a lot of it comes from like I started writing it right before AI was really taking off 3 years ago, and that plays into it because we don't know where it's going, and if a business gets a hold of like the ability to record your lives, what's going to happen next? Like that's always the thought with DADIRRI is like, okay, this is right now, but what happens next? What if this happens? What if that happens?
Right.
So those are the comp titles for those first three. Also,
kind of, I haven't read enough to say, and obviously this is a comedy, but also sort of made me think of the show Upload.
Yeah, yes, that someone at work told me that. Yeah, they were like, "Have you seen Upload?" And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And they explained. The premise,
it's
and I was
funny.
Like, absolutely.
But it's because they upload your consciousness, and so they have a downloaded version of you, even though you aren't you anymore.
And isn't that the show where like based on how much money you have, your living relatives can send you stuff in the afterlife or something like that? I don't know. That is a very, very clever idea. I think it's super cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you guys, your books sound so amazing. I am 100% gonna have to like actually sit down and read the whole thing.
Will not stop you.
Yeah, go for it.
I know who's going to say no to that, right?
Yeah.
Robert, thank you for that segue because that is the direction we were headed next. Robert's asking what you guys are reading right now, and I love to talk to you guys just about your lives as readers too, because obviously you do more than just write, right? Mm-hmm. So, what are you reading right now? Anything? Or I know some people when they're writing aren't also reading, so.
Lauren, you get to go first this time.
You're always making her go first.
So he has time to be like, I see what you're doing. It's fine. I prepared. I would love, the most recent book that I read was actually the first of the Dresden Files because somebody suggested it to me. And because I was just looking for more fantasy books actually to read. I generally read a lot of sci-fi or like thrillery type books, and somebody mentioned the Dresden Files, so I listened to Stormfront and I very much enjoyed that. I also listened to the one that affected me the most, that I had the most feelings about was I read the Southern Reach series, which is based on, the first book is Annihilation. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, but it's based on a book. I had no idea. Oh. And I read the first book and I loved it. And then I read the other two books in the series and I had many, many feelings about that. But, those are the last. I have a job. I'm really lucky. I have a day job where I can listen to audiobooks like pretty much all day. So nice. I've just been like tearing through audiobooks. So if you have good audiobook suggestions, send them my way. But yeah,
we love recommendations from you guys and from our viewers too. Yeah. Lauren, you had a lot of feelings about them. Are they feelings where you would recommend the books to other people?
I would 100 recommend Annihilation. Like, especially if you saw the movie and you liked it. I love the book even more, and I feel like I generally do that. If I know a movie is coming out it's based on a book, I'll like read the book real fast because I will generally like that better. But I loved Annihilation, the book, and then it's just like it's so weird and creepy, and you don't really get a whole lot explained. It's just this like sci-fi horror book, and it's just so perfect the way it is. And then I feel like the other books kind of expand that universe out for you, and you start learning things but not really learning things, and honestly, like, it's strange because this is generally not how I feel. Like, if I find a book that I like and a universe that I like, I want more. But this time I was like, no, you were perfect. You were perfect overall, and I didn't understand anything. And on it, and the more, and they're, it's not that they're badly written. It has nothing to do with any of that. I just honestly was like, no, I don't want to learn anymore. I'm good. I'm good, and I want to stop. But I kind of wanted to see it all through, so I listened to the other two,
Yeah.
just to be sure, because I had to be sure. But yeah, I kind of have asked around because I was curious about it, and other people have said they very much enjoyed the trilogy. So if you like Annihilation, I'd say give Authority a try and see if you like it.
Okay.
Sounds like there's like a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, it's just really weird because it just doesn't have the same feeling as the first one. You are kind of learning things, and I almost was like, I almost wish it wasn't that. And that's very strange for me. And like I said,
Is it because the mystery of Annihilation is explained away in the subsequent books?
yeah, it's kind of explained away in a fashion that I didn't feel was quite satisfactory for what you like. You go through a lot of emotions and a lot of weird, and that was, kind of the point of that book, was that you are experiencing this weird phenomenon, like, from the inside of somebody's head. It's very like through mundane experience. And once when I got the explanation of what was causing all of it, I was like, oh, like, it just seemed like it could have been something else.
I've had that
Or I
experience
don't.
with series before.
Yeah. Yeah. So and I don't like, I can't sit here and be like, well, if I wrote this book, I would have said it was this. I don't know if there would be an explanation that would have felt good. But the one that I got, I didn't.
I love it.
I understand that feeling 100%.
But the Dresden Files, the Stormfront was delightful. So I would recommend that to anyone.
Good to know. Okay, Ty, what have you been reading?
I just finished Dune and Dune Messiah. I had read Dune in high school, and I usually retain all of the information, and I was rereading Dune and was like, I have no recollection. I mean, I was like Gandalf, I have no memory of this place. I mean, really, like, what is this? And so it was like reading it again for the first time, which was super, super cool. And then I read Dune Messiah, and I was like, I don't like this book at all. And that was fine. Some people love it. It's like, it's totally, I don't know. I've got big feelings about that one as well. But now I'm rereading a book called Pushing Ice by Alastair Reynolds. It's a sci-fi book. I convinced a buddy at work to read it, and he is in the middle of it. And so I've read it a couple times before, and he's kind of going through it. And he's like, well, what about this? And what about this? And it's like, oh, I can't wait for you to get to the end, because like everything, there's such a good payoff. And I super love it. So I'm reading that right now. And then I'm listening to that. I know some people are like weird about this. Okay. So Robert, I'm going to pause. Do you mean Children of Dune is better than Messiah? I've heard that it is, so I'm gonna assume that that's kind of the consensus. And then like God of Dune or whatever it is, children, grandchildren of Dune, whatever. I'm hoping that they're still good. My goal is to pick it back up, but I just had to kind of take a break from Arrakis for a little bit, and I'm gonna take the kids to go see Dune 2 this weekend, so it'll be fine. Okay, good. Oh, thank goodness. And then I'm rereading the Silmarillion, because I'm a nerd and I just love it.
I mean, I feel like we're here to talk sci-fi tonight. Like, we're all nerds, right?
There we go. Yeah. Like
There's something
company,
weird
right?
about every last one of us.
So many people are like, the Silmarillion, how do you like it? It's like a history book. And I know, isn't it like a history book? I just love it. It's so nerdy.
Yeah,
It's
my
so
husband
great.
owns a copy of that.
I mean, when people at work are like, we went to Lord of the Rings trivia one time. Robert, get out of here. Stop it. Get
No
your
popcorn buckets. Not for the children.
I was totally forgot what I was talking about. What was I talking about? This was 5 seconds ago.
We were talking about the Silmarillion.
Yes. Okay, so we went to Lord of the Rings trivia, and I was like super stoked because my two other friends have started reading the Silmarillion, And we were talking, like, some of the questions were just movie based, and then there were two that were, if you read the Silmarillion, you know it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know this. And one of them leaned over and was like, I know it too. And it was just this moment where we were like, yes, we've reached like nerddom, you know. It was really, really fun. But that's what I'm reading right now. I would recommend Dune, and I'd recommend Pushing Ice. It's Alistair Reynolds has several sci-fi books, but I actually just bought another one of his today, but Pushing Ice is great.
All right, cool. I'll look that one up because I'm always
Yeah.
looking. I need more. But I'll put Dune on there too. That seemed like you're like Dune and the Silmarillion. Like I'm gonna like the most hardcore book. I'm gonna read. I'm like, whoa.
I know.
I will make a confession right now since we're talking about nerd things. I read The Hobbit, so I read that, but I tried to read Lord of the Rings and I did not get very far in it. I know we can't be friends anymore, can we, Ty? I'm so sorry.
Oh my
I
God.
weirdly have never read any of the Lord of the Rings books, and I think that's really weird.
Yeah.
But I read all of Terry Goodkind's Sword of Truth series.
Okay, so
But I haven't read the Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? That's weird, right?
Yeah. Hi, Kara.
did you like? Okay, no, not did you like. Did you feel betrayed at the end of the series?
It's been a lot of years. I'm trying to remember how the series ends. The man got really, really preachy. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, it's not just me.
It got so hard to read. I'm like, the story is amazing. Can we just like cut out like 10 chapters of each book?
Yes.
It was good.
I felt like at the end it was like okay, here's the story. I'm writing the story. Also, this is what I believe. Here, like, eat it.
Right. And I bought the first Confessor, but I didn't read very much of it. That one he self-published, and you could kind of tell he did it because he didn't want an editor telling him what to leave out. Because it was long-winded.
I believe it.
I forget the name of the newer one that had the hedge maid. That one was really good.
Really?
Yeah. Because it left out like the preachy emperor, whatever, and it just kind of went back to the standard Richard and Kaelin, like it was an adventure and it was new stuff, and it kind of left out all that stuff you got bogged down in before. So
yeah, because
in general, I liked the series, but there was a lot of things I like kind of skipped over because I already knew what he was going to say, and I didn't need to read any more about the sanctity of human life. And
yeah, we get it. Okay, humans are great. We get it. Please. I mean, they're not all great, but
right, like we do some bad shit. It's fine.
Yes, we do.
Anyway, so it sounds to me like you guys both like a lot of sci-fi and some fantasy. Are those the primary genres you read?
Yeah, I would say so. There was a time where I tried really hard. Like I would read, a real book. I would call it. They're not real books, but you know what I mean. Like a some sort of more literary type of book, and then I would have to read a couple of fun books to kind of like get me through to the next one. But anymore, I'm like, just read what you like, and I tend to like the setting of fantasy and sci-fi. I love the tone of it more. It's hard enough living in reality. It's when I'm reading a book, I like to escape. So I do tend to definitely lean towards those genres.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar vein. Although fantasy I would say is third because I really like horror, but I don't like gross, gory, blood and guts horror. I like creepy, something's wrong here horror.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't like blood and guts stuff. But Stephen King is usually who I kind of gravitate towards, and even though his stuff is sometimes blood and guts. But there's several other horror authors that I've started picking up that are similar enough, but really like that atmospheric terror that they bring to it is a lot of fun.
Okay, so who else do you like for horror? I love horror also. I feel like I need to be like the third wheel to this duo. Like I get along with you guys really well. I like all the same things.
Like we're now best friends.
That's right. We're new besties.
So Stephen King's son, Joe Hill, has written several, and I have really liked his. The author of Bird Box has written several, and his name escapes me at the moment, which is so like what a loser I am. But his stuff is really, really fun. And in fact, I let my 12 and 14-year-old read Bird Box and Mallory, the sequel to it, and they really loved it. There is another author. This is embarrassing. I don't remember his name either. There's another author that I like, and he's cool. He writes horror. He wrote a book called The Handyman and The Influence. I have it on my shelf over there. I could go snag it. And it's really, really good. I loved it. I loved The Influence. But I don't remember his name right now. I'd have to look him up or go get the book.
All right. You have to send me all those later. I'll see if I can look them up.
You got it.
When I was a teenager, I wanted to read Stephen King really bad. And when I say teenager, I mean like starting when I was like 11 and 12, I wanted to read Stephen King. And my mom was like, no, this isn't happening.
Yes, us too. Me too.
But I had like a little mini part-time job at a local bookstore sorting books. And I earned so many book credits for every box of books that I sorted. And I then, of course, got first dibs, right? And I started bringing home John Saul books. Which my mom had never heard of, and so had no idea that I probably shouldn't bring those.
Yeah,
So I still have this giant shelf of all the John Saul books I collected through middle school and high school.
It's great. I love that. I was such a scaredy cat. I like couldn't even read Goosebumps. Like I was so terrified.
I've always loved that stuff. My parents love to tell the story about when I was like 3 years old, and my dad had us watching Night of the Living Dead, and my mom was like, they're going to have nightmares. I can't believe you're letting them watch that. And the story goes that I said, but look at all the cool Halloween costumes.
You had the right mind.
Wow.
There is a tendency to exaggerate these stories, so I don't know. But there's got to be a kernel of truth in it.
It's a great story. I mean,
I have never found that stuff like so scary I couldn't watch. I just love all of it.
I was not allowed to watch or read or participate in anything that was creepy or violent, and I didn't start reading Stephen King until I was like 24, and then I started reading. I just devoured it. I read like 30 of his books in just a very short amount of time, and I got thinking, and this is one of the things that like now deviating to like real life stuff. I got thinking like why do my 14-year-old really wanted to read Stephen King, and I was like, man, it's just like there's some stuff in there that's not kid friendly, and I was like, well, that's true, but he's also 14, and at school they're talking about way worse things than I can even control. So I started letting him read a little bit of Stephen King. So like Doom McKee is my favorite Stephen King book. I let him read that one, and so because I had wished, now as an author, it was like I draw a lot of inspiration from the way Stephen King writes, and a lot of kind of his atmospheric stuff. And I wish I could have read it sooner. So I relaxed a little bit on the danger, I guess, of Stephen King violence and just violent books as a whole. Like Finley, my 14-year-old, kind of reads murder mysteries now. So whatever.
At least you could be like, I read these, so I know.
Yes.
Know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, I can tell you guys have great taste, which, if I didn't already know, tells me I'm going to love your books too.
Yay!
I hope you do. If you do,
I mean, we think they're great.
I know. I really liked it. I think you would too.
TikTok is trying to end my life. What is happening?
Oh no! Oh, we might get kicked out. Sorry.
You had too much fun.
I fixed it. I don't know. It popped up like this verify you're still here, like slide the puzzle thing.
Oh.
And it said, we have detected inactivity during your live.
Yeah.
How?
You're not like.
But I'm right here though.
Yeah.
What was I supposed to be doing to let you know I'm here? I've never had that problem before. Anyway.
Space Kitty's grown too powerful.
Right. She's like, I'm tired of you talking.
That cat is enormous too. She weighs like 20 pounds. She's, huge.
That's huge. My cat's 10 pounds, and I was like, geez, Toothless, you're giant, dude.
Yeah,
20 pounds?
She's enormous. She's got to be part Maine Coon or something. She's giant and long-haired and noisy.
So the best.
They are.
That's right. Yeah. And she loves to snuggle, so there's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, wow, we are about out of time. I would love to ask more questions, but who knows how long we'll talk if we do that.
You know, I feel like I could hang out all night.
I know.
I know. I feel like I could too. We should do this again sometime, just like because we can, not because it's Authors Live.
100%.
I think it's fun.
Anytime.
Well, folks, if you are still with us, thank you so much for watching. We've had a lot of viewers tonight, a lot of likes. We love that. Thank you so much. Please buy some books from Lauren and Ty. We've got the Parallax series from Lauren, and only book 1 is out so far, right?
Well, you can pre-order it. It'll be available April 9th, and you can pre-order the ebook right now, and then on April 9th, the paperbacks and the audiobook will be available, narrated by the very talented Amy Hutchins. She did an amazing job.
Perfect. And then Ty, the DADIRRI series chronicles. I feel like
Saga. There you go. It's
Saga.
close.
All right. I was almost there, you know. And
had
what's
it.
the next series called again?
Dominus Trilogy.
Oh, okay. And do you know when the first book releases of that yet?
It's called Eden Vertex, will come out in November of this year.
Fantastic. All right. So lots of books to buy, lots of books to read. Here is my shameless plug of the evening. I love to provide authors with some free publicity here and help them get new readers. One of the ways that you can support that effort is to go to my link tree and click on my bookstore. Lauren and Ty's books are both there. I've got a bookshop.org and an Amazon bookstore. They still get their full royalties if you buy your books there. But I get a little bit of a commission as well, which helps support our effort in Authors Live. So please buy some books, help out our authors, and support Authors Live so that we can continue giving free publicity. It has been so great talking with you guys. Thank you so much for coming. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh,
yeah, this has been great.
Amazing. Thank you so much.